Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Watch and Listen podcast. This is a podcast all about watches. I'm your host, Matt Farah, and I do this little show here with my friend Cameron Weiss, the master watchmaker and CEO of the Weiss Watch Company, making watches from scratch right here in Los Angeles. This episode is brought to you by Crown & Caliber. Crown & Caliber is the #1 place to buy secondhand luxury watches online, from Rolex, Omega, Tag Heuer, IWC to Breitling, Patek, and more. They have got it at Crown & Caliber. Over 2,000 watches in stock at all times. Where do they get those watches? Well, from folks like you. If you want to get rid of a watch, maybe you want to upgrade, downgrade, side grade, just clear out the closet, hit up Crown & Caliber. Their buy, sell, trade, flexible features mean you can get the watch you want at the price that is nice, and also trade something in if you're looking to get out of it. Use code CAM150, CAM150, to get $150 off your first watch purchase from Crown & Caliber. Code CAM150. This podcast is also brought to you by Beeline Coffee. I'm drinking it right now. It's delicious. It is a single origin. It's micro batch. It's my favorite coffee in the world. I drink it twice a day, every day. I got my own roast. It's coming back soon. There is a new blend for the Smoking Tire Roast. It's coming soon. But if you use code CHRONO, CHRONO, code CHRONO at checkout, I will give you 15% off anything in the Beeline Coffee store. That's right, code CHRONO, 15% off anything in the store at Beeline Coffee. That's what's up. This episode is going to be all about the history of Omega. Omega is it's a very well-known company, second in popularity probably to Rolex in this sort of the sport watch industry, but they have some truly iconic watches. It's an interesting history because it's a little murkier in certain places, as we will see, but Cameron and I think, piece it together pretty well, and we've got some neat watches to show off as well. Here it is, History of Omega. It's the Watch and Listen podcast. Shaboom. Watch and listen. Hello, folks. What's happening? It's a nice little Thursday. And it's time for number 2 on the brand. Number 3 maybe. Did Vintage Seiko count as a brand deep dive? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Because we didn't cover too much about the brand. It was more
true.
just vintage watches.
Yeah. We're gonna do history of Seiko another time, but history of Omega is today. I don't know why I wanted to do Omega so bad. It was like this one I pushed for a little more, but I think Omega was a brand that, like, everyone dwells on the moon thing, and there's a lot more to it than the moon thing.
Yeah, definitely. The moon thing is a huge deal, but they're an old company. They've been around a long time.
The moon thing is a huge deal, but I feel like it really gets dwelled on.
Yeah.
It gets dwelled on by people that aren't going anywhere near the moon.
Right?
I mean, I guess we talked about how having a dive watch really just means like an overbuilt tough watch for anything you can throw at it. So I guess the moon thing is the most precise, I guess. Actually, here's where your Moonwatch shit comes in handy. I was in Miami in a bachelor party 2 weeks ago, and I was at a strip club. We were at a strip club, and a friend of mine wears a Speedmaster. And actually said to a girl who was giving him a lap dance, "My watch has been to the moon. I'm timing this." And he actually dropped a Moonwatch reference on a stripper and used it to time his lap dances. So in that instance, it is important to have an accurate wristwatch.
Yes.
The adventure at a strip club in Miami. Oh, man. Where do we want to start with this? First off, we can start by saying if you buy a Weiss watch from the Weiss Watch Company and put Watch and Listen in the comment box, is that what it's called? Comment box?
Yeah, just a comment box on checkout.
Cameron will send you a free strap changing tool and a free strap. How about that? All right, let's talk about Omega. What does the watch brand Omega mean to you, Cameron Weiss?
The first thing that I think of when I think of Omega and establishing Omega is kind of fishy beginnings.
Fishy beginnings.
Only because Omega loves to scream about how old they are, and they're not really the same.
Okay.
Omega was a company before, and then it became Omega
It
as we
evolved.
know it. Yeah, and the actual Omega is not that old.
Okay.
I mean, it's old, but
I
not,
agree with I agree with
not
you.
as old as they claim.
I agree with you. The story will indicate exactly pretty much what you said. Although fishy it's interesting. I wouldn't have used the word fishy, but let's start it. 1848. A gentleman named Louis Brandt. I think it's Louis. He's French or Swiss, right? Yeah, Louis Brandt. He looks, man, does he have some mutton chops? He's got some. It's like the bottom half of his head is so weighty. He's got like a pear-shaped head. 1848. Louis Brandt starts La Générale Watch Company, which actually I looked in a couple different sources, and they referred to it a couple different ways. This website that I have here in Wikipedia called it La Générale Watch Company. Other websites referred to it as a comptoir.
Yeah.
What is a comptoir?
You know, so Omega says, what do they call it? A comptoir.
It was said as like a workshop as opposed to a manufacturer.
Exactly. And so the big thing that you
is that
have
a boutique, a comptoir?
Basically. He started slanging watches is basically what happened. Yes. He was
comptoir means
taking
slanging?
from here, sending it there.
Oh.
He was doing it for business.
I now have more respect. He
Exactly.
basically said he traveled around Europe and mainly sold watches in the UK.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. He was finding watches in Switzerland.
But he wasn't inventing anything. He was slanging, as it were.
He hit the road.
Yeah.
I think it was like horse and buggy, and brought watches from the mountainous areas of Switzerland and would drive them all over Europe and sell them.
His company was based in Le Chaux de Fonds, like in the place where people make watches. So he was just buying like unbranded watches or maybe even branded watches and moving them.
Yeah. So there's a lot of companies you have Audemars Piguet was one of them, and they were making movements, and he would buy stuff from them. He'd case it up.
And slang.
Exactly.
Big bags to small bag, folks. That's how it always starts. AKA the Duffel Shuffle. He has two sons. Louis got two sons, César and Louis Paul, who look really a lot like their father. Minus they've gone from the mutton chops to the mustaches. But that is in 1879 he dies, and the sons go and buy themselves a factory, and it's a little murky of whether they create or buy the rights to a new movement called the Caliber 19, which becomes known as the Omega movement, basically.
Yeah, so...
Wait, did I just jump ahead of myself?
You jumped
I think I jumped ahead of generation.
Quite a few years.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Not a generation, no. It
Yeah,
was
they're kids.
1903,
I jumped
think,
ahead
or
7
1904.
years. 8 years. Sorry. Unlike
basically-
other watch companies which publish a linear history of their fucking company on their website, I had to go to like 4 or 5 different places and try and create a timeline.
And it's because Omega does not want you to have the timeline because the origin is fishy.
Okay. So 1879, the sons go get this factory or somehow start this factory, and the key to the factory is that it allowed certain components to be interchangeable. It's not this gear goes to that watch and this gear goes to that watch. It's like a bunch of different watches use the same shit, right?
Yeah. So basically the father and the son, Louis, what was the son's name? Was Louis Paul?
Louis
or something
Paul,
like that?
and César.
Exactly.
Yes.
So Louis Paul and his father started the company. His dad died like 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So then he went to his brother. They partnered up and went to Bienne.
Yeah,
right?
Bienne.
Bienne.
Biel. Biel?
Same thing,
Same
basically.
place?
Yeah, two cities right next to each other.
So this watchmaking techniques in 1903 they came up with these movements called the Omega brand movements, but still sold under La Generale Watch Company official
Yeah.
name, right?
Well, they had a few brands. Basically, this company they started, they didn't make Omega watches. It was a separate thing. They just would take parts and pieces, put them together, make whatever they could make, and they'd make watches, put a label on it. They had a couple different names. Decimal was one of them, Labrador, a couple of other weird names that they sold their watches under.
They're just going through the dictionary and
Exactly.
picking words.
Anything. So they just wanted to basically use the scale and create a whole bunch of brands
Yeah.
to sell a huge volume of watches. And then they
It
came
actually-
out with this Omega movement,
Uh-huh.
which had all the replaceable parts, super easy to service, really reliable. And that's what kind of blew them up. And that was really their home run that stuck. And that's when Omega really started.
Gotcha. So it didn't last long for the two brothers. They died in 1903, kind of right as this was going on.
Yeah.
And at the time, they had 800 employees, and they were producing almost 250,000 watches a year, which is like a lot.
You want to know something interesting, though?
Yeah.
So it was when they were making 100,000 watches, when they hit that $100,000 mark,
Right.
Elgin was doing 500,000.
Really?
Yep. So the American companies were way bigger because they beat them to
In the
those interchangeable
manufacturing?
parts.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they came up with all that industrialization, all the
That's true. Let me go back in my
repeatability.
notes. When did IWC do their factory? So 1890.
It was around the same time, but it would have been after.
1875 is
Yeah.
when they built their factory.
Yeah.
So, Louis Paul and Caesar died in 1903, and the company went to the kids, Adrian and Paul Emile. I think Paul Emile Brandt becomes the real deal. He ends up running the company for decades after this. From 1903 all the way to like 1955, I think. For
Yeah.
like a long time.
He brought them into what we know Omega as today.
Right. So the kids, he was 23. Paul Emile was 23 when he took it on. The company was in this state, and they make it through World War I. They don't really say how they make it through World War I. There's about 10 years in this story that have nothing in it.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just cranking out watches. Maybe they're doing something weird that no one wants us to know about. I'm not really sure, but from 1903 to 1925, basically nothing happens in the story except World War I. But in 1925, after World War I, they worked to unite Omega and Tissot. Why was this such a big deal? Just money?
Another brand.
Some websites use the word union, and some say Omega acquired Tissot. Which do you think happened?
Probably more like a manufacturing partnership where Tissot could use what Omega, all that infrastructure, and then Omega could use their brand name, basically.
In the 1920s, how big of a manufacturer was Tissot? Were they selling a lot of watches, or?
I don't believe they were making any movements.
Oh, okay.
But they had a solid brand name, solid reputation.
Okay.
But they were the brand.
Okay.
And at that time, you had a really clear understanding and separation. You knew that you bought a brand of watch, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they made everything that went into it. It's not like it is today.
Yeah.
It was more of like you had the people that were the designers and created the look of that watch and made sure it worked great. And then you had everybody behind the scenes.
Exactly the same thing as cars. You're talking
Yeah.
about the early 20th century. You would buy a car, but that would be just a chassis with an engine, and then you would take it to a coach builder who would put a body on it.
Yeah.
So same kind of deal. So Tissot would be the coach builder, and they would buy running chassis movements from somebody and put them in a case and put
Yeah.
a dial on it, and that would be that.
So for the two of them to come together,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you have a lot more profit.
Yeah.
And you can scale a lot faster.
And they created SSIH, which is can you do that one? I'm gonna fuck up the pronunciation. It's Society something International Horology,
Yes.
right? Society Swiss International Horology, basically whatever the translation is of that.
Yeah.
And eventually this will become Swatch Group. Eventually.
Yeah, in a roundabout way through the quartz crisis.
Right. Very roundabout. So that takes us to 1930. 1930. Let's see. Let's take a step back real quick. Take just a quick step back to the Omega Caliber 19, which I have a photograph of here. This is the original Caliber 19 movement. That was the first one. It was then upgraded, the 21 caliber movement, which won. All right, now we have to talk about observatory trials, because from the 1920s to about the 1960s, observatory trials were everything in Omega's history.
Yeah.
So tell us about the observatory trials.
Well, you have to remember this was back in a time before computers and before all these clocks that are getting satellite signals and things like that. So these watches were actually intended to keep time and keep it accurately, so that you could do a number of things. One big thing was travel the seas.
Yeah.
Another thing was later railroads, and also war. You needed to be able to time when troops were going to converge on one area. So it was really important to try and make an accurate watch. So a lot of the companies, in order to establish themselves as good watchmakers, they weren't really thinking about the decoration, which is what's big today. They were thinking
all about accuracy.
Accuracy.
Yeah. So the observatory trials are basically accuracy competitions.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the deal.
Yeah.
And apparently, from what I read, they're pretty rigorous.
Very.
What are some of the things that they would subject a watch to?
I mean, the main things are going to be positional errors, temperature, heat, or temperature and heat, same thing. But so you have all these like external factors that they're putting into the watch.
Angles, movement,
Exactly.
temperature, forces, whatever.
Moving it around quickly, so
Later
getting force,
magnetism, but-
spinning watches, things like that, and just monitoring them over a long period of time and making sure that they are accurate and remain accurate.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly how many observatory trials there were. I counted 4 different major ones that they seemed to enter. There's the Geneva ones. There was a Neuchâtel one.
Yeah.
And the Kew Teddington one was a big one. Do you know? I don't even know where Kew Teddington. That sounds like England.
Yeah,
honestly.
that one I'm not aware
They
of.
won the Kew Teddington one a lot. That really sounds like an English name.
Yeah.
So so I could list off this will literally be like going down a list of like things they won. They won everything.
Yeah.
they won a whole bunch. So the 21 caliber won 1925 and 1930 at the Kew Teddington, and then 1931 they won first place in all 6 categories at the Geneva one.
Yeah.
with this caliber 19 movement.
It's like
sorry,
those
caliber
car
21.
commercials that you see when it's like, we've got 5 JD Power awards
Totally.
for everything.
Yeah, and you know all this goes in ads, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then they come out 1933. Gotta jump back. 1932, the Olympics come to Los Angeles.
Yes.
And this you want to take this one? Go ahead.
I mean, I'm just proud that it was the Los Angeles Olympics where Omega became the first and only, right? They were the
timer.
only ever Olympic sports timer.
Official
They've been the
Oli-
official Olympic sports timer since 1932,
Yeah.
and that happened in Los Angeles.
So it started by sending. I'm sorry for the shit quality of this image. I couldn't find a better resolution one. Actually, I can. These are the reissues of the Olympic pocket watches. They look representative of what you would get.
Yeah.
They sent 30 watches and a technician to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was all it took.
So the previous Olympics were in Amsterdam, and it was basically like, bring your own pocket watch, bring your own timing device.
So yeah, the 32 Olympics. This began a tradition of Omega timing sports, which we will get to again at the very end of the history lesson here. In 1932, they also acquired Lemania, the movement maker, which basically
Very important.
why is it so important, Ken?
That became what is known as the Moonwatch.
And because of this chronograph movement.
There you go. So it was the, I think I'm getting it should be the CH27 was the initial caliber that was created.
Yeah, the production watch was called the 28.9 small wrist chronograph, which is this watch here.
Okay, yeah, so it's a 28.9 millimeter case probably, because and the reason they named it CH27 was because it is a chronograph and it's 27 millimeters in diameter, which was crazy. At that time, that was the smallest the smallest chronograph movement, 27 millimeters, very small diameter.
Yeah.
So they named it the CH27, and eventually Omega started using it, and they had a couple different changes. They added a 12-hour after that, the 12-hour register. Mm-hmm. So that was just an additional complication they added to that movement. And
what does it have now? It has a 30-second. Oh, is that 30 minutes or seconds?
30 minutes. So you've
30
got
minutes on there, and then just a small seconds at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, so you could only measure up to 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. So they added an hours?
And then they added the hours when the 12-hour register.
So that was 35 years before the first Speedmaster. This is 25 years.
No.
Excuse me, 25 years.
Really?
1932.
No.
57 was the first Speedmaster. That's 25 years.
1932?
1932.
I don't
They
think
acquired
that's right
Lamania and introduced the small wrist chronograph, 1932.
I don't know if that's right.
No? Because I Googled 1932 Omega 28.9, and this was the image that came up.
Really?
Yeah. You want me to find it again? Let me do it again?
1932.
1932 Omega chronograph.
So I wonder if that's the CH27 then. Because
Let's see. Omega chronograph 28.9. I don't know. I thought I did a good job researching. Introduced as 1932.
CH13.
CH13.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. There it is. So, yeah, it is 1932, though.
Yes.
We are there. Okay.
Different movement.
We're on the same page. Okay. Back to where were we at next? Next, 1933. There you have a new caliber, the caliber 47.7, which is sent to the trials in Geneva, and it scored. First in 1933, it got the record for a 97.4 out of 100. The image I have here is from the 1936 Observatory trials, where it broke its own record with a 97.8 out of 100, which is a record that stood for 30 years. And so this image, it doesn't look like they send a whole watch. It looks like they send a movement in some type of just case designed to go into the paint shaker machine or whatever.
Yeah,
because
they have all sorts of winding arms and wheels and things. And, machines that put force onto the watch.
Yeah.
Dropping machines that will actually just allow it to drop on a rail and smash into the hard
this,
surface.
But this test case, though, wouldn't. It's representative of what you get in a real case on your wrist.
It's representative of a regular watch case.
It just, instead of having lugs, it has this little clippy things on it.
Yeah.
But I guess...
also, this was 1936, so
maybe
you're still kind of in that pocket watch and wristwatch weird era where wristwatches weren't that popular yet.
Uh-huh. So here, what are some of the things with the results watch? I mean, the movement is covering a bunch of the information on the thing, but some of the things we can learn from the things that they've tested here is they have different temperatures. I can see a list of 8 different temperatures. What else do you have here?
So you've got your mean daily rate over here.
Uh-huh.
So that's your average rate for the...
So it's losing between 0.5 and 0.9 seconds a day.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it says, what else does it say? What would these say? Difference between something?
Yeah, it'll be the difference between your coldest temperature and your warmest temperature.
Okay.
Which you've got here. What is it? A 0.9 and a 0.8.
Yeah.
Right. That's the difference I see. I don't know.
So then it says, I don't know, in respect of consistency of daily rate 39.0.
Yeah. So it's weighted.
Uh-huh.
So they're essentially multiplying whatever your difference is on your rate by some weighted average, and then they come up with this 39 number. And then they also come up with consistency of rate with change of position.
Right.
Which means how consistent is the timekeeping
if
in
you move it
every
around.
different position.
Yeah.
And they gave them a score of 39.5. And then the temperature compensation, seeing how much the temperature deviation caused timing to change in all those positions. 19.3, and then they add them up.
Well, this is mega nerdy.
Very.
But at the bottom, there's marks that just say especially good.
Right?
So basically, in the 30s, it's all about movements breaking these records. This caliber 47.7, it wins in 31, 33, 36, 37, and 38. And then, 1939, they come up with the caliber 30. It's actually written 30 millimeter, 30 mm.
Yeah.
Did they just do it like that?
Back then, yep.
They just did it by, here's the size of this one.
Yeah.
So the 30 mm, I don't have an image of. It was also quite good. That one won. It was invented in 39, and it got first place in 40 and 45. And then in 1947, they invented the first tourbillon wristwatch. And it is not pretty. They only made 12 of them, designed specifically for competition, for the trials only. And it was, as by 1950, they invented it in 47. In 48, the older movement, the 30 mm won again. And then in 50, the tourbillon won and broke a record. And then in 54 and 55, it broke 3 new records. And then in 56, it had 2 more first places.
Yeah.
Damn.
But again, there's always some weird fishiness.
What is the
their,
fishiness?
So first tourbillon wristwatch.
But not the first time someone took a tourbillon pocket watch and stuck it on their wrist.
Yeah, and you also don't know who made that tourbillon wristwatch.
Oh. Well,
did Omega make it, or did they buy it and put their name on it?
Really? What's the story? Because it looks Omega's stamped on this thing.
Yeah, I don't know about the tourbillon, but I know they also have the claim to the first wristwatch minute repeater.
Okay.
Which
is not demonstrably not true.
So they basically went to Audemars Piguet, and they had Audemars Piguet make them a minute repeater built on top of one of the current movements that they were using, which was not an Omega movement or anything. It was not even a movement made by them. It was just a movement that they wanted to use. They had AP build the minute repeater over it. And then they went and they claimed all these records of first wristwatch minute repeater and turned it into their history.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, they definitely leave that out of all
Which,
of the...
I mean, it's under their brand name or whatever, but...
Yeah, but that's kind of... That's not really... That doesn't count.
It's like we went and we bought it, and then we claimed all the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if Audemars Piguet already made it, why didn't they claim that they had it?
They were just watchmakers.
They were just the engineering
modest
firm.
watchmakers up in the mountains, whereas the Omega guys, they were the businessmen.
This is very funny. This is Thomas. This is Edison and Tesla.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
right?
It's this is like the big rich whoever stomping all over.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Everything I read says they came up with this.
Yeah, I haven't looked into the tourbillon, but I would venture to guess that they had somebody else create it and then
How
released
interesting.
it.
Well, they never released it. They made 12. And that was it.
But it also takes that to advance because Audemars Piguet was sitting up in his workshop making pocket watch repeaters.
Yeah.
And not thinking, let's put
Without
this
somebody
into a wristwatch.
Yeah, marketing this thing.
And then they came to him and said, you know what, we want to put this in a wristwatch.
That's
Can you
true.
make the repeater on a smaller movement?
Yeah.
And then we'll case it up. And then all of a sudden, we have this claim to fame.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
On the excuse me. When they're talking about the observatory trials, when they talk about these first place and whoever, it's like the person who tuned the watch is always mentioned as well.
Yes.
It's like constructor and driver, like in Formula
Yeah.
One. I left it out of my history, but they had a few different periods of like a great driver, where this one.
Could you imagine
guy,
being that guy, and then all the watch companies are calling you up? Can you
wait,
our watch?
so what does this guy in the trials like? What does this guy do? He's just the fine tuner.
Yeah. So there's basically you have to start with really high level watchmaking to begin with. So all the parts have to be made to the tightest tolerances and the finest surface finishes on all of the pivots and moving parts, so that there's very low friction, and everything needs to be balanced properly, so that wheels are all balanced. Nothing is out of the ordinary that would cause any positional change to make the time
It's like
deviate.
balancing and blueprinting an engine, right?
Exactly. So they're kind of going through everything, but they have to start with nearly perfect parts, the best quality level of parts. And it doesn't mean that those parts are going to go into all the production models.
That's what, yeah.
It just means that they did.
Now we're talking about Ferrari press car engines.
Yeah, they attained a really high level, and then this master watchmaker sat down for a long period of time, made sure everything was perfect, did all the assembly and the fine regulation, making sure the hairspring is completely perfect, all the coils are perfect, all the heights are set right.
And is this one guy working on this one movement all the whole rest of the year? Or is this guy spending any time making my watches that I'm going to buy?
No, he's not. He's not working on any production.
He's
watches.
in like advanced projects, and
Yeah.
so if you look at the Wikipedia page right now for Omega, here's this ridiculous list of all the trials that I got my shit from. So I see, first place for tourbillon, regulated by, and then this guy joins the precision timing department. So it's always regulated by, regulated by, regulated by. So these guys, Joseph Ori, Andre Brielman. Who else was some Alfred Jacquard?
It's very tedious work.
Carl Bieter, Bieter, I think. So there's like 5 or 6 guys who are for years. This guy Andre Bierman like straight murders in the late 60s. So so if this guy is head regulator, right? So he's gonna maybe oversee a department of people.
Yeah, he'll go through and be like. Training the people who are working on the production line if they have a problem and maybe everything is starting to fail in one position or the hairsprings came in kind of funny and they need to have a fix made.
Yeah.
He'll go in and train and make sure everything's perfect. That person will be extraordinarily anal about the hairspring and how everything is perfectly level and flat and true and square and all these things that you look for. Really boils down to very low friction and a perfect hairspring and balance.
So that gets us through most of the 40s. Now, let's actually talk about some shit that they sold. 1948, Omega releases the Seamaster. And it wasn't a dive watch originally. From what I read, it was the use of the rubber O-rings and gaskets that really made a difference, right?
Yeah, they switched from it was the old school way of doing it was a lead.
Yeah,
washer.
I read that it was a lead washer. Yeah,
where you would just shellac it.
It would get like clamped together, and the soft lead would
It deforms. Think about when you're putting in some spark plugs. You need that little washer,
right?
Otherwise, you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah,
it was basically like that. You're deforming the metal gasket.
Yeah,
so that it. Hopefully it keeps it watertight, I guess.
Yeah, so the story goes that someone at Omega saw a submarine and saw how rubber O-rings worked on a submarine and decided to take that and use the case back, and I think they said the crown and the case back with
they started using rubber.
Yeah. So that's 1948. And it wasn't that it made it a dive watch, but it allowed you to do basic water activities, and more importantly, it made it impervious to big temperature and humidity swings.
Yeah, watches they weren't fogging up anymore. No, they were using nice actual rubber O-rings.
Yeah, I mean we don't. It's not something we think about that a watch could like rust from the inside out. Like that's not something that happens today.
Yeah,
but I guess it did at one point, right?
It definitely did.
And at one point it was like, keep your watch the fuck away from water. Like don't even splash that or something like that.
And they were also like something that you didn't wear at any time you would be hot and sweaty. It was like you wear it during nice occasions, and that's it. When you're wearing a suit, you're not wearing it to work in the garden or hang out at the beach or go clubbing.
We expect more from our watches today. They were going clubbing in the 30s. Make sure you don't wear your watch clubbing. It's like in the Prohibition swing dancing,
right?
Yeah. So we have the Seamaster in 52, and then we have the Constellation in 50.
So they had that the one dive
40,
watch
52.
before that, though, right?
Did I miss one?
In 1930.
I don't
I think
know.
it was 1930 or 32.
I don't know.
They came out with the first dive watch, like actual marketed dive watch.
Seriously?
Yeah.
If so, I have missed that entirely.
It was, the square one that fit together and had like an inner and outer case, kind of. I think it was.
I'm just Googling Omega first dive watch. Let's see what we have. Okay. Possible. Totally possible. Rolex Oyster, Panerai, Blancpain, Panerai, Breitling, Rolex.
So Rolex, it was in the 20s when they came out with the Oyster case.
Yeah.
And then it was like 1930 or something like that Omega came out with what they considered their first dive watch. It was good to like
The
14
Omega
meters
Marine.
or something. Yeah, Omega Marine.
All
That's right.
Hang on.
I think it was 14 feet or 14 meters, something like that. It was
Oh, here we
shallow
go.
depths.
Okay. Well, somehow this has gotten has missed me in the here we go.
This might be a reissue.
Oh, look
Or
at
no,
that.
wait.
No,
What does that say,
1932
original?
Museum Collection
Wow.
Limited Series.
That's
no,
a-
this is going to be a reissue.
Okay.
This would be the original.
Yes.
So it was it come apart?
Yeah, it comes apart. It was like an outer case that goes over an inner case.
Oh.
I
I
guess
guess very odd that this.
Right?
I looked at quite a few different history sites. It's odd
So-
that was left out.
the big thing about the Seamaster, though,
Yeah.
was the rubber gaskets.
Yeah.
This
This did
one
not have
did not
rubber
have
gas-
rubber gaskets.
Okay.
So this was old school in that first race to have watches that were more water resistant,
Got it.
but they still weren't really great.
Got it. Okay. Well, now, all right. So there we go. Now we're back at the DeVille. Look how this Omega was applied on here. It's like not. It's weird.
Right? Do you know what logo might have been underneath that Omega?
Lamania.
I
Tissot?
mean, it could have been Labrador.
It could have been.
It
oh,
could
you
have been any of
It
their
could have
other-
been anything.
I don't
right?
know. Yeah,
They
it
could
is
have
kind of
like,
weird though.
It really even if I zoom in, it looks like they covered up something
Yeah.
with like sticking an Omega badge on this
Right?
thing. Yeah. But the movements were COSC certified in the
Yeah,
Omega.
the
that
the
was the thing.
Constellation, right?
Yeah,
that
that's
was their
sort of the-
higher grade.
Yeah, higher grade
Yeah.
movement. And remind me, what is the COSC certified?
It is a chronometer grade
Yeah.
certification, which in order to call your watch a chronometer, it needs to pass this chronometer certification. It's kind of like the observatory things where you're actually sending out the movement,
Yeah.
just the movement, not the watch. The movement has to go through testing, different
And remind
positions,
me, every individual movement, right?
every single
Yeah.
individual movement.
You don't
So
test
if
one
you-
representative watch.
Yeah.
It's all of them.
So if you get a watch from Omega, Rolex, these companies that Breitling does it as well, now they test every single one of their movements.
Yeah.
And you'll get a little certificate because your movement actually went to the testing facility and was tested in every position and all kinds of different things.
On their website, and again, maybe you want to grain of salt this or whatever, but on their website, apparently someone who had a Omega Constellation they bought brand new in the 60s sent it in for a service in like 2010 and asked them to send it to get certified, and it did. Like 30 years after it was sold, it got certified according to Omega. According to their, you look skeptical as hell.
Yeah.
You look skeptical as hell about this.
Yeah.
You don't think that could be? I'm not saying every one. I'm saying one watch.
It could be. I mean, chances are good.
I mean, if it was certified originally, right?
Yeah.
And they serviced it, so now it's fresh. Why not?
I mean, if it hadn't been serviced in between, there was probably a lot of wear on the parts, so there might be
Boy.
a lot of new parts in there.
It could have been. He said it was sent in for regular service. So let's assume that it's been serviced regularly its whole life.
That would be a serious mark of quality.
It would be the kind of
see
thing
that
you would put on
truly
your
happen.
website.
Definitely.
It would
Yeah.
be the kind of bragging rights you'd put
Yeah.
on your website.
I
Okay.
would be very impressed
Okay.
because COSC standards have also changed over the years.
I imagine it would have been tested to meet its
the old
periods.
standards, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You wouldn't go bring a
that would
fucking,
make more sense.
Yeah, if you brought a 57 T-Bird in and said it passed 2018 emission standards,
Yeah.
you'd be like,
Crazy.
what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
1957 is the year of Omega because they came out with all three of their most iconic watches: the Seamaster Professional, the Railmaster, and the Speedmaster Professional. All three 1957.
Yeah.
You can actually buy the reissues as a trilogy. That's where I got this website. These are the original pictures, but you can buy all the reissues of these as a trilogy right now. If you
Well,
want.
and the Seamaster 300, is it 300 now? You
It's-
have one here, right? Is it
that-
actually 300?
Is that's a reissue or that's a reissue, right?
Yeah.
That's not an old one. Now we can start getting into the actual watches we have
Right?
here. Yeah.
I don't know. But the story goes when they came out with the 300, it was not water resistant to 300. It was labeled water resistant to 200 meters, even though it said 300 on the dial.
That's so
And
funny.
they
It's like a
just
Subway foot long. No. Foot
Yeah.
long doesn't actually mean that it's a foot long. That's
Exactly.
a trademarked term that we own.
Yeah, but they claimed it was more of like, oh well, we don't have the equipment to test them.
Oh.
But it should be good. Like the prototypes were good, but we only actually say 200 because we don't know for sure on each individual watch.
Oh, that is
But
interesting.
kind of odd.
Interesting.
Yeah.
With the Speedmaster in 1960 and 61, they claim 4 new records in the Observatory trials and the 4 top spots. And then 1963 and 64, they claim 2 more first places and a new record for accuracy with the Speedmaster. Then 1965, Zenith actually beats them in the trials, and but Omega places 2nd through 9th. So they win overall, even though they don't win the first place. 1967, the last year that the trials really matter, they allow them to enter the Beta 21 Quartz movement, which pretty much eliminates the accuracy readings.
Yep.
You know, if you throw a Quartz movement in with a bunch of mechanical movements, it was like, oh, 5 seconds a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to end the discussion on the trials, Omega comes back. They didn't take that shit sitting down, son. They weren't about that. They came back with tuning fork movements called, I have a picture. Here we go. The Omega, this is a production watch, but they came back with these tuning fork movements called Speed Sonic, which were like the Bulova Accutron movements, right?
Kind of.
How do these work?
So it's got that tuning fork setup.
Yeah.
And 300 hertz. So
So back and forth, 300
Exactly.
times a second.
basically buzzing. Not quite like the Accutron. This was lower than the Accutron. But this was also like a mechanical chronograph in there.
So is a
It's like
tuning
a-
fork movement a quartz movement or no?
No,
It's mechanical.
it is not a quartz movement.
Is there a battery?
There is a battery because
Okay.
you are using it's an
It's
electronic,
electronic movement.
movement.
Okay.
but it is not quartz
Okay.
because it is not regulated by a quartz.
Okay.
It is regulated by
the tuning fork.
tuning fork.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So in 68 to 71, they got 6 new accuracy records for the tuning fork movement. And to end it off in 74, they have a marine chronometer, which was the first ever quartz watch certified as a marine chronometer with an accuracy rate of 12 seconds a year. A year, bro. That's the end of the accuracy competitions pretty much right there.
Yeah.
After that, do they currently do accuracy competitions right now for high-end mechanical watches or no?
It's not so much about accuracy anymore.
What's
It's
it about now?
design.
Really?
Design and complications, decoration, really the watchmaking aspect as opposed to the fine regulation aspect.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The Railmaster. Do we have a Railmaster? Did they send us one? No.
Nope.
It
no
came
Rail
back.
Master.
It came back later as the Aqua Terra. It's sort of the we don't want to talk about it as much. It's sort of the anti-magnetic one. People who work around electric fields. I think the idea was that a third rail, right? If you're working on railroads,
That's true. Yeah.
the power lines and third rails would be high voltage kind of thing. 1968, Omega comes out with the DeVille dress watch.
The DeVille was an interesting line because they actually set up a workshop in Geneva to create the DeVille.
A separate workshop.
yeah.
Why?
So it was like their hip entry. They were trying to become hip and cool. and
Were they
create-
not cool?
They were
the
kind of
nerd
like
watch.
They weren't like uncool. It was just they weren't really design centric. It was more about all these competitions, which is like, oh, great, okay,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very accurate, that's nice, but we want something that looks good.
Uh huh.
So this was more for younger people. people who were
It's
a little
ironic
trendier.
because it really looks like an old man's watch now.
It does now.
Yeah.
But when people were
In 68, though, this was fire.
exactly, and so they had some like unique case shapes and different faceted areas of the cases and differently designed dials. But that was the idea behind the DeVille line, was to be like fashion forward kind of.
That's so interesting
Yeah.
because we'll jump backwards for a minute. Let's go to Speedmaster original professional. Where is that? This guy, which is the original Speedmaster?
This guy.
So we got to talk about the moon.
Yes.
I think there's like 5 or 6 episodes we've talked about the stupid moon. So yeah, the Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch, first watch,
Actually, we have
certified for space travel. What's that?
this is a later Moonwatch.
Is that the reissue Moonwatch?
No, the X33.
What's that? What is the X33?
So the X33 is you're not going to wear a mechanic. You're not going to wear this watch on to the moon anymore. This is like
the
old
mechanical
technology.
wine watch. Yeah.
So now they have the X33.
Is this what they wear now? Is
Yes.
the current Moonwatch? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got some like digital happening.
Yeah, it's going to be an electronic watch with other functions as well, but more accurate, basically.
Oh, and that's what they wear now today? That's so boring. I like
Right?
the old
Well,
one better.
but they don't need a watch today.
Of course not.
There's all kinds of other timing
it's
devices.
like co-marketing.
Yeah.
So we have like 5 different Speedmasters. The Speedmaster line is like we'll get to that because
So,
there's like go ahead.
The big thing about the Speedmaster, the original, was that Lamania movement. It's the 321, which is the CH27 Lamania movement.
Mm-hmm.
Omega renamed it the Omega 321. And it's a manual wind chronograph. Oops. Which you can tell by looking and seeing that the pushers and crown are aligned.
Oh yeah, you mentioned on the automatics they're
Yeah.
slightly off, right?
So the automatic version is going to be an ETA movement with a module on top.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find it for a lot less money, and it has the same look. So if you're looking to just kind of get in and have one, less money,
Yeah.
automatic as well
Yeah,
if you like
yeah.
automatic. So it's a good deal, solid movement. But the original was the manual wind Lamania movement, like this one.
And you can go to the Air and Space Museum and see Neil Armstrong's Speedmaster. And
Yeah.
it was sort of like this versus Bulova, I think. Was it Bulova? Yeah, it was Bulova. Had the other... It was this as far as the competitions for space.
There was also a Rolex.
I think there was a Rolex, too.
It either like fell apart instantly, or it was like a day late to the testing or something, and was just disqualified very
Didn't
quickly.
work out.
Yeah,
Now the Speedmaster is like the nerd's watch. Like my nerdiest friends wear Speedmasters.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a nice way. Like JF Musial, big nerd, Speedmaster. Like my friend who went to the strip club and talked about his Speedmaster, he's a big nerd too. He chases decimal places on the racetracks. You know what I mean? He analyzes the data and shit and
Yeah.
tire pressures and stuff like that. Like the Speedmaster is a perfect nerd watch.
it is.
It's a great looking watch. For me, they're tough to wear because I'm afraid of getting water in them.
Yeah.
They're not water resistant.
You know, another thing about the this watch was actually, I think this was when Omega actually started their own internal design, like actually designing the look of a watch and then making that watch, as opposed to just sending the specs of your movement to a case manufacturer and being like, make a case for this
Seriously?
movement. Yeah. Before
How long did that go on for?
that was basically how the whole industry was done. It was the case people
Yeah.
who would design and make your cases for you based on the specifications, and it was really basic stuff. These were like case makers.
That's so crazy.
Then you had actual designers. So this was the first watch that Omega made with an actual designer that is not like a watchmaker or a case maker
Yeah,
or anything.
yeah.
It was
stylist.
exactly like
Yeah.
they were creating a look,
Yeah.
and it's still pretty much the same. Very little has changed.
Well, yeah. Pull out we have the
Yeah.
new Speedmaster here. This is this bitchin' meteorite
Yeah.
one, which I love. quick note on the camera for those of you watching video. Some people commented they weren't pleased with our camera quality. I attempted to get a better camera before we recorded the show. We hooked it up and tried it, and it was an absolute steaming hunk of shit. It literally had an optical zoom, which I was like, oh, awesome, optical zoom. And then I found out it recorded 7 FPS. What am I supposed to do with 7 frames per second on a watch show? So this is the new Speedmaster. It's an automatic. Is it display back?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful finished movement. And this is this dial actually made of meteorite? I think it is. Right?
Yeah, meteorite dial, and then it's got the ceramic case, and they have a special gold, right? Right? Is this a gold bezel?
Maybe.
I think it's some kind of special
I know that's
gold.
like pretty much the most expensive Speedmaster you can buy, except for the silver Snoopy.
Oh, okay.
We have another. This is a Snoopy.
We have a Snoopy.
We have a Snoopy. It's not the silver Snoopy. Kick out the original one because it's lame. Fuck space. This is the first Snoopy, which has a Snoopy commemorative thing on the back too, which is really fun. There was something. What is the Snoopy thing? I think the silver Snoopy award. It's like for saving someone's ass in space, something to that effect.
I don't. Somebody told me once because I was like, why? What's the Snoopy thing on a watch?
The silver Snoopy award is given by NASA. Here we go. Of all SFA awards, I think it's Space Flight Awareness Awards, the Silver Snoopy best symbolizes the intent and spirit of space flight awareness. An astronaut always presents the Silver Snoopy because it's an astronaut's own award for outstanding performance contributing to flight safety and mission success. Fewer than 1% of the aerospace program receive it, making it a special honor to receive this award. So for a human to win it, you have to significantly contribute beyond normal work requirements, perform a single specific achievement which contributed towards attaining a particular program goal, contribute to one or more major cost saving or cost avoidance, instrumental in developing program modifications that increase quality, reliability, etc., developing or assisting with an operational improvement, developing a process or improvement of significant magnitude. This Silver Snoopy commemorates, I think, the timing of the Apollo 13 direction change burn, which they timed for exactly 14 seconds.
So if you can't get the actual Silver Snoopy award,
this one
you can get this Omega.
So this one is really cool. My favorite is our friend Adam Craniotis of Red Bar has it, and this one I'm so jealous. If I ever buy another Speedmaster, this is it. And it's the white Snoopy, and it has Snoopy actually laying down on this subdial, which is the most gangster shit ever. And I don't know how much the Meteorite one. I think the Meteorite is probably like 11 or 12 grand. This one is the retail's 13, and they trade for like 15 to 18.
Wow.
This is pretty much the only Omega. The only new Omega that you can buy that trades for over sticker right now. Pretty much the only one. The rest of them you could just buy. In fact, a lot of Omegas, like the real difference between Rolex and Omega, a lot of them you can just go to Omega's website and like order, which you can't do.
Yeah, and I don't understand why so many of those Rolexes are like that, where they just, we make 1 million watches a year, but for some reason there's a lineup waiting for a Submariner.
They can. Because
right?
Because it keeps the used prices high, keeps that, and it keeps people buying watches like the less desirable ones, because a smart person would buy an ugly date just or two to get in line for a Daytona.
Yeah.
Not a smart person, a person,
Yeah.
not a smart person.
Smart's the wrong word.
Yeah. So where are we at the moment in the history? Okay, we have
one of those.
Yeah, let's go back to 1970. Let's go back in time real quick. 1970, they come out with the Ploprof, the Plongeur Professionnel, professional diver. This image is the actual one from the 70s, and then Cameron has
this is a big watch.
makes some space. Cameron's got the reissue. This is the newest one.
Yeah.
So this thing was like, it's a dive watch, like
Yes.
a real, like there's nothing fashionable about it, except now it's sort of worn
in
in
there
irony,
with,
right?
So there's a regular sized watch.
Yeah, it's huge. I actually want to put that one on.
Yeah.
Can I put it on?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this thing on. It does. I mean, it's like it's so ugly that it's fashionable now. Oh my god! I mean, hang on. Let me put this camera up. Look how giant this thing is. It's so weird because it's like.
And the whole idea was when they came out with that watch, they machined the entire case from one solid block of steel. The case back is solid, so the case and case back are one piece. Wow. They basically milled out the front, cut a hole through the side, and dropped a movement into it, and put the crystal on the front.
Wow!
So it's supposed to be
cool
really structurally
unscrewing the crown. It sort of moves the whole like block.
Yes.
Out. Wait, put that back under the thing to show
so
how
the
that.
whole
I unscrewed it.
The whole thing moves out.
Yeah, you see if you can
that
see
space?
that. Yeah. And then obviously on the right is a massive helium escape valve. No?
No. So you have your helium escape valve on the bottom here.
Oh, that's the little guy. What's the big red guy on top?
The big red guy is another part of their big claim.
Oh, it's
so
the
you see it's
the
a
button.
lock for the bezel. The bezel locks. If you press this spring-loaded button,
now it
then
spins.
you can change it.
Got it.
And you can change it both directions. The locking mechanism is that big orange or red button, depending on if it's an older one or newer one. Color changes.
In the older one, it's red.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually kind of like the way this one looks, the one we have here in studio. You got to have a real big wrist to pull it off.
Yeah.
And it is kind of dumb if you're not a really heavy-duty diver.
Yeah. Well, the newer ones don't have the solid case. So this actually has a screw-down case back.
Oh, really?
So it's a little bit
to bring the cost down?
Yeah, it's bigger. It's just a different design. They could achieve the better water resistance even without having the solid case.
Huh.
Yeah.
How about that?
It was just back at that time. That was how they did it.
How about that? Oh, yeah, okay. So then now we're back at, you got modern Speedmasters, the Co-axial, 1999, George Daniels and his Co-axial escapement. If you're interested in the nerdiness of that, we did a whole episode on escapements.
Yeah, we went over that coaxial.
Cameron schooled me on the George Daniels coaxial. That's pretty much what you're going to see in your modern Omegas. And then in terms of significance, horological significance, this is really the significant one of the modern era. 2014, the Globemaster Master Chronometer, the most accurate movement Omega claims to have ever made. And there's some sort of new certification process, which we have on the website here. This is actually Omega's website. So these are the functions. There are 8 tests. So for this new, it's called, what's it called? It's got MA something, not like MAGA, but it's something, METAS. It's Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology. And the new tests replicate real-life wearing conditions and demonstrate resistance to water and magnetic fields. I'm guessing the original trials did not include water or magnetism back in the day, right?
No, they did not.
Yeah.
It was the main thing was going to be your temperature, because they didn't have the alloys that we have today for hairsprings.
Right.
So you actually had parts that would grow with heat and shrink when they get cold. So then it would mess up your timing. So that's why the temperature thing is a big deal.
So this watch, so here's I'm going to go through the quick things you need for Master Chronometer. So one, COSC approved movement during exposure to a serious magnetic field, 15,000 Gauss, whatever. That's a lot, right?
That's absolutely insane.
That's a lot, right?
That's like above and beyond anything. Only Omega can claim good for 15,000 Gauss. So
Okay.
I think that is just for their watch. I don't think they actually test everything to that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, 2, function of the watch during exposure to 15,000 Gauss, right? Yeah, gotcha. Deviation of daily chronometric precision after exposure to the Gauss. So they test it, and then it shouldn't deviate at all. Average daily chronometric precision of the watch. So it's tested over 4 days, and they put the watch in 6 different positions in 2 alternating temperatures. Then they test the power reserve, that it continues to function at the limit of its expected capacity. They then test the deviation of precision in 6 different positions. Then the deviation of precision with 100% and 33% of its power reserve. They then test it up to the point of its stated water resistance. It's a pretty rigorous test.
Yeah, all of that is normal for the watch industry except for the magnetism test and the temperature test.
Okay.
Not everyone tests magnetism and temperature. Temperature really shouldn't have any effect on a watch anymore, at least not the temperatures that they're measuring at. Like we're not talking like
We're not putting it in an
we're not
oven.
talking ovens or anything.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
just talking like
The temperature
warm
of
day.
Earth.
Yeah, yeah. Typically, your watch is going to remain at body temperature.
True.
Unless it happens to be worn outside of a jacket or something like that.
You know, I find that storing my watches in the freezer is really space efficient. So this is the Globemaster, and that's their most accurate current watch. And if you go to their website, there's like a million different variations of Seamasters and the Planet Oceans and stuff. And then before I want to go over a few of that. Crown and Caliber sent us some watches we'll talk about. They're the Omega in sports. This is also on their website. They sponsor a lot of sports: golf, swimming, athletics, Olympics. They do the bobsledding. I'm into the sailing. They've been sponsoring sailing events for a really long time. They sponsor America's Cup, and they have just these awesome boats. The world's toughest race is the BOC. Oh, they renamed it the Volvo Ocean Race. It used to be called the BOC Challenge, which is around the world solo race, and the Whitbread Cup, which is around the world in a team sailing event. Very, very difficult, challenging, fucking brutal event.
Yeah.
And they have this thing, which is the Seamaster Co-axial. Which is meant for these watches. I actually really like this watch. I think it's a beautiful
Another
watch.
thing to mention with a little Southern California flair is that liquid metal that they use for the bezels and some of the other parts. It's a Orange County company, actually.
Wait, what? What liquid metal?
So you see how you have the bezel is black?
We're looking at a bezel of the
Okay.
Omega Co-axial Master Chronometer, which is mostly black with white, gray, and some red markings.
So it's really hard to make ceramic in multiple different colors.
Right.
One part and have like one piece of it be red and one piece be black and have them fused together.
Yeah.
So in order to make a bezel out of ceramic and have numbers on it that are a different color, they actually create a ceramic bezel and then they put liquid metal, which is like some kind of ion, basically growing up a liquid metal number in a cavity on the ceramic bezels. And that company that developed the technology, they're in Orange County.
Really? Is it the
Yeah.
same company that makes like the Cerachrome bezels for Rolex? Like, I have a blue and black, half. And someone told me once that it was really hard for them to make those bezels.
It is very hard for them to make two different colors fuse and have a nice straight line. So it's very expensive.
Yeah. I heard that they have to throw away a lot of them because it doesn't always work right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
same-
imagine if just getting a straight line is hard, how you're going to get numbers in there.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of switching over to ceramic bezels, was having some sort of
interesting.
technology to put the numbers on it or different colors.
How
Just an
interesting.
interesting thing about the bezels there.
And then they have, marine chronographs and stuff like that. I love these America's Cup, like crazy winged catamarans. They're foil boats, so they sail basically out of the water. They're wing boats, so they have like a rigid mainsail.
And are these all like fiberglass hulls?
They're carbon. They're
Carbon?
all carbon.
Wow.
Carbon hull, carbon spars. They weigh nothing. And they are so fast. Wow, that's beautiful. Coaxial Master Chronometer, Seamaster GMT Deep Black. That's fucking awesome, that watch. I really like that.
Yeah.
That's a sexy watch. So I love the New Zealand as well. The New Zealand All Blacks. Look at these guys hiking out. They have a strap. They hook their feet under it. The boats are so light. This is like a 40-foot boat. The boat is so light that these guys are hiking out, hanging on. They're hooked their feet under the strap, and they're hanging their full body weight off the boat to keep it level.
Right?
I mean,
if
how
you
often
take those guys off, the thing just flips, right?
it will capsize for sure. Yeah. It's amazing. So That's the history of Omega. What other watches did Crown and Caliber send us? Because they sent us some really
We
interesting
actually got some
pieces.
cool stuff.
So what's that bullhead? That bullhead is cool, and this
Flight
is cool.
Master.
So what is a Flight Master?
So this Flight Master is basically just a Speedmaster. But different name. It's just they were
Different
kind of in
design?
an exploratory phase, creating all these weird, funky chronographs at the time. But just interesting colors, interesting hands. It has
It's got this weird, really weird shaped, war helmet case.
Yeah, exactly. And it should have some radial brushing, but this one's just been high polished at some point.
It's a nice piece.
Yeah.
And
Interesting case shape.
It's that's 70s, right?
Yeah.
That's 70s written all over it.
Then you've got the bullhead with the up-down chronograph.
Oh, these bullheads are
Right.
really, really cool. What movement is this? Is it the same as the Speedmaster movement, just turned 90 degrees?
No, different movement.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what movement exactly is in here, but
These bullheads are really cool because it's like wearing a stopwatch on your wrist. So if you actually are going to use the timing functions, especially if you're left-handed, it's a good one. It's a good one to use.
and this one's neat. It's got you should have your internal bezel. I don't know if you can see that on
Oh
the
yeah,
video.
there
You've
you
got
go. It's
one
spinning.
crown.
Yeah. Where are you spinning that? At the bottom?
Yeah, the bottom
Oh, the
crown
bottom, cool,
at 6
yeah.
o'clock turns your internal bezel, and then the top crown at 12 o'clock is your actual time setting, date setting. And then you got your chronograph, start, stop, reset,
It's a very cool looking watch.
right?
Yeah. Remember last week we talked about those Stratton watches from that they sent in that we reviewed.
Yes.
They're coming out with a bullhead that looks a lot like this that I pre-ordered actually.
Ah.
I did.
Yeah, they have definitely, their watches are certainly inspired from
By
watches
that
like
stuff.
these two.
Yeah,
here.
yeah, for sure. We have a bunch of Speedmasters. Is there a difference between really any of them?
Just different.
We got a Snoopy, we got a
versions.
Meteorite, we got a Professional. Is this the reduced? That's a small one, right?
No, this is the
What's
small
that?
one.
That's the Speedmaster.
The 57. Right? This is the
yeah.
limited edition 57 kind of remake one.
Yeah.
It's the smaller case size, right? They had two case sizes on them?
Reduced is what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, reduced size. Then
Yeah.
put it next to the full sizey one. If you're, I think, woman or small man, you can definitely rock the little guy.
Yeah.
If you're average to above average size, you definitely need the big one. Is this a Planet Ocean?
Yes.
Yeah, and the Planet Ocean is my favorite Seamaster. It's a 45 millimeter. It's a pretty big case, so if you're a big guy, you got big wrists, it's really good for you. I've almost bought these on a couple of occasions.
I really like the chronograph there. So they have two registers, but on your chronograph subdial, which is going to be on the right-hand side near 3 o'clock, you actually have two hands.
Oh,
There's two hands hidden there. There's an orange hand, and then there's another hand behind it. You won't be able to see it on the video, but you have it's kind of like a regular clock dial.
yeah.
So
So
you
that
have-
does hours and minutes,
hours
and then the other
and
one
minutes.
does seconds.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it makes the dial look really nicely balanced, having two, and then the date down there at 6.
Yeah.
And you have the 12 hour is hidden in there.
Now this is a Seamaster. It's also a chronograph.
Yes.
Are you going to be able to use that chronograph like underwater? Is that gonna,
Yes.
you can?
Yeah, this chronograph, and actually one of the tests that, these are a little tight, but one of the tests that you do, I think I'm getting that. I don't know. I'm trying to unscrew the.
It seems
thing
to have
right now.
screw down
Oh, it's
screw down
not.
pushers, right?
No,
Or
this one's not.
no.
On the other ones, I guess with the screw down pushers, I think these ones just have a stronger spring in them. But the idea of the screw down pushers was that when you go deep, you can actually have buttons start to press in on the movement
from the pressure. Oh yeah.
But as long as they're sealed, they're good. But one of the tests on the older ones that have those screw down crowns or screw down buttons, you actually do the pressure test in the water with them open.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Because it's still it's like a worst case scenario kind of thing.
exactly.
That makes some sense.
Yeah.
I got it. And then wait, is this we do have a DeVille. They did send us a DeVille.
You can actually see the liquid metal logo on this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that liquid metal? One word is a trademark. Liquid
Liquid
metal.
Metal Technologies is in
Oh.
Orange County. and they came up with the technology, and then
Oh.
Omega licensed it from them
Oh,
to
I
create
got
those
it.
bezels.
Yeah, so it actually does say liquid metal
Yeah.
technology. I think that if they're just here, maybe they want to come and be guests and talk to us about ceramic. That could be really
Maybe,
neat.
yeah.
This is it's a really beautiful movement on these Planet Oceans.
One thing I think Omega does really well is colors.
they do
Right?
have good
I find
colors.
that the colors that they bring into their watches are nice. You can deviate from like the black and the white with Omega because they do a nice job with the blues and the reds and all these
Yeah.
other colors they
The
incorporate.
Seamasters
orange.
come in really fun
Right?
colors. Yeah, the Speedmasters
Yeah.
are not. They're more black, white, gray. But like, there's like a khaki one that's kind of cool. This meteorite thing is super cool. I wouldn't be surprised if this bezel was rose gold because if this case is ceramic, this is a lot heavier than my ceramic one was.
Yeah.
A lot heavier. This meteorite dial is so cool. That's fucking
Right.
And what's the other? What's that one?
So this one's pretty cool.
What's
that? It's got your so it's your regular Lemania movement, except you also have on here, in addition to the chronograph, you have a date and moon phase. So I'll move the hands out of the way for those of you watching video.
Is this just Speedmaster moon phase?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
but it's a moon phase on top of the chronograph movement, the
I've-
manual one. Chronograph
I've not seen
movement.
the manual chronograph with a display back before. It's
Right?
pretty.
It's very pretty.
Omega does finish their movements well today, anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
That's really nice.
Right? Beautiful
Yeah.
movement with the addition of that.
So are the
moon
pushers
phase
and stuff
date.
in line there now because it's a manual wind?
Yes,
Okay. So the
Yeah.
moon phase and date go on top.
go on top.
Yeah.
Whereas the chronograph is integrated in the movement.
Cool.
Yeah.
What does it say on the bottom there? I can't. Does it say something on the either side of those subdials of the six?
Yeah, it says Speedmaster Professional, and that's because you've basically replaced where the logo
Right.
and all that information would go
Yeah.
with the fourth subdial there.
It's weird. I almost get like a Bell and Ross vibe about this one for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the white on the black or the fonts or something about it looks. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be maybe the logos next to that
That could-
lower
yeah,
subdial look like
it's
wings
the logos
or something,
on the
right?
side is what
Yeah.
it was. Yeah. It's a very pretty watch.
Yeah, it is nice.
Oh, so I think that's a pretty comprehensive.
Oh, here.
we have a DeVille. Oh yeah, we've got a modern
Right.
DeVille.
And this one is interesting because for a short period of time, you could get these DeVille watches with the coaxial escapement.
We hit the focus button on there. It's
Yeah.
being a little fuzzy. Yeah,
What?
That's not gone well.
Come
Try
on.
again. There we go. All right.
So this Omega DeVille coaxial was one of the earlier ones, and they actually made a sapphire window on the side of the case.
Whoa! I didn't see that. It's got
So
a
you can look
porthole.
at so you can look through the side.
Oh, that's so cool.
So these were
Why
their
have I never
first ones
seen
that
that
they made.
before? Is that old? That doesn't look old. Is that old?
This is this looks brand new.
It looks
a
brand
used
new.
watch, but it looks brand new. Someone took really good care of it.
Like that's like new in box.
Yeah. But these were the original ones that they came out with when they released this coaxial movement.
So we're talking about 1999 coaxial movement is brand new, and they really want to show it off. This is how they do it.
Yeah.
By putting a side window.
Yeah, on both sides. It was very expensive for them to do
That's
it.
so cool.
Yeah.
The problem is, it doesn't really show you anything.
You can't see much, but it's
You
just
can't see much.
it's a neat little design thing.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
Do all the DeVilles from this period have this?
Not all of them. It was so expensive that they actually stopped doing it.
Is that so? Wait, do you think this is from '99 and just been sitting in a box? Or do you think it's a reissue?
Well, this one's an 8500 caliber, so they probably reissued it because this is
Yeah.
a newer caliber than those
Right.
ones. So the first ones that they were doing had the windows on the side,
Let me make it a little darker. It's a little. There we go.
and then they stopped with those windows. But
don't
I think
know.
they may
That's
have brought the
fucking
windows
cool,
on the
man.
side back, the sapphire windows.
That's badass.
Right?
Dude, if they make that DeVille in a, I'm debating a dress watch eventually. If they make that in bigger, that could be for me. My current favorite Omega is the big Aqua Terra. The Railmaster became the Aqua Terra, and I'll pull it
I've
up.
always liked the Aqua Terra GMT in
Yeah.
blue.
Yeah. So the Aqua Terra is got. Here's a. Is this a good? Let's find a really complimentary picture. Here it is. Here's the Aqua Terra. It used to be Railmaster, and then it's got. It really does straddle between a dress watch and a sport watch. I think you could pull it off with either way, and then you've got it in different. That picture is taking a slow load. It's really nice dial designs.
Yeah.
Good blues, good grays. I'm a big fan of this one. It's got kind of a gray striped thing happening, and there's a real dimensionality to the hour indicators. This one is particularly dope. I really like this is like a gray horizontal striped dial with some blue and white indices.
Right,
It's
it really
really
makes
hot.
the blue pop.
Really looks good. Maybe one day. Maybe one day this could be. I had an Omega. I traded it for something I would wear more. Maybe I'll go back to it one day. But I think that's a pretty good dive into Omega, right? Are we missing anything, Cameron?
I don't think so.
think-
I mean, well,
Right
wait,
now they sell.
we are missing something.
What are we missing?
James Bond.
Fuck James Bond. James Bond. Okay, yeah.
Right from what was it? GoldenEye. on?
Yeah.
They've
It
been,
was James Bond was Rolex up
Right.
until Pierce Brosnan came out. It was a bad time to switch because frankly, he got fucked in the car department too. He got that shitty little 4-cylinder Z4. That was a sucky Bond car.
Yeah.
And then he had the 7 Series. He had the BMW. So it was Z4, 7 Series, Z8. And as much of a fan as I am of that Square 7 Series, that kind of sucked too, as far as Bond cars go. And the Z8 was great, but it got cut in half. I am committed to talking about James Bond
As a Rolex
as
guy.
little as as little as possible because I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going to the next month. I'm going to the Bullet Mustang launch in San Francisco for the new one. I am not going to bring up that stupid movie one time. Here's a new Mustang. It's green.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really it. Before we get out of here, though, we have a new. I want to talk about this. We have a micro batch watch submittal for review, and it's very interesting. And I want to talk about this from LIV Watch Company. But first, real quick, I want to shout out and talk about this. This is a strap sent to me by 1787 Straps from Reykjavik, Iceland. And I love anything that's made in Iceland. Put this under the scope here, Cameron. This is made of reindeer. This is handmade
reindeer, all right.
reindeer. I think this is just one guy. The name 1787 Straps refers to the year that the current breed of reindeer was brought to Iceland from Norway. This special breed was the only type brought to Iceland that survived the harsh winters and landscape. Descendants of the original 35 reindeer brought here live in the highlands in the eastern part of Iceland, where this leather strap is made from. And this is
You've even
just
got the reindeer on the back.
yeah,
there.
it's made by one dude in Iceland. They're made to order. And Cameron, would you do the honors? I got this strap from my Ralph Lauren World Timer, and I would like this to be put on, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think this is going to look good. And the World Timer is an odd size. It's a 23 mil, and nobody really makes straps in 23. It's all like 22, 24. Like Cameron's about to find out right now that I just had to jam a 24 onto this watch to make it work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but those pins are brand new, and the pins are the correct
Cool.
size. So we have no problem changing them. But so far, I want to see it on the watch. But like, dude, the quality of this strap is really nice. The stitching is really good. The leather feels soft and supple and not cheap at all. It feels like an expensive, high quality item. It says handmade on the back. It's got the reindeer. I don't know. He just sent me. He said, I think you guys would like this. I think you should check it out. So I'm pretty excited. This and it says on the back they're all it's made to order. They label them so you know what you're getting. And 1787straps.com, right? Yeah, 1787straps.com.
The only question I have is how is Santa going to deliver his gifts this year?
Oh my God! Kill all of Santa's reindeer and turn them into watch straps. I want to see some from Australia too. I want to see some kangaroo
looks
leather.
good.
Oh, dude, throw that
Right?
under. That looks great. Look at that, huh? This strap that I had was about $50 from the Ukraine, and the one that I took off, and it's okay, but it's not. It's definitely not as fresh as what we have going on here. That is a strap befitting a fine timepiece. Let me put on. All right, so that's that. Thank you, 1787 Straps. But also, check this out. There's a company called LIV Watches, and I'm going to pull up their website here. And it's really interesting because they do Kickstarter watches. So they said they have a Kickstarter going on right now. It goes on for a month. I think it's until Friday, June 29th. Oh, Cameron, this fucking strap is boss, dude. I'm really liking this. Let me put this on. That looks great.
Right?
That looks great. All right, we're sticking with that. Thank you, buddy. So LIV Watches, they're out of Switzerland. There's a Swiss watch. They do this Kickstarter thing, and they sent us some watches that are prototypes for their current Kickstarter. And basically, their model is people pre-order the watches, and then they have capital to go make them. So if you look at their website, they had a $30,000 goal. There are 29 days to go, and they have $425,000 already.
Yeah, they're obviously pros at the Kickstarter game.
That's amazing. This isn't a company that like is out of nowhere. So they have this Kickstarter, and there's these different watches. They've had 5,000 backers, $2.9 million raised. And so basically, you can get in on this Kickstarter, and you get a limited edition watch. And the amount you pledge is the watch you get. So they've got 4 watches they're selling here. An analog alarm, an auto ceramic, an auto chronograph, and then a auto chronograph, steel and titanium with ceramic bezel. So they've sent us a box with some prototypes. Neither Cameron and I have looked at them.
Yeah.
So let's open this box. Let's see what they're about. We want to, and I was like, look, I want to see these watches. I'm excited. I think what they're doing is very interesting. And ultimately it's going to come down to, quality of watch versus the amount of money they want for it. And we're doing this cold. Neither Cameron and I have looked at these watches in person yet.
So it looks like there's 3 of them in here.
Okay.
There's one.
So this looks like it's a chronograph. It's black. Auto. This feels like it's probably steel, right?
I think so. It had some weight to it.
This feels like it's got some weight to it. Okay.
So this one's titanium, I think.
You got a light one?
Feels
Okay.
pretty light.
So they came in this kind of neat case.
Yeah.
Okay. First off, I'll throw this under here. All right. So this one is. What do you think, Cameron? It's black. It's got a display back.
You know what? The bezel reminds me of something. Is it the Ralph Lauren watches?
It has like a roughed up metal bezel on that one.
The,
that is the automatic chronograph, and it is $790. $790. What do you think?
Really good deal.
Wow, what
I think.
Did you just spin that winder that fast? Why did it spin so fast?
So it spun fast because this is the ETA 750 movement.
Yeah.
And what's happening is it winds one way. You see it moving slowly.
Uh-huh.
If I spin it the other way,
it free winds.
it
free
spins because it's only winding in one direction. It's not bi-directional winding.
Okay.
So that's why if you have an ETA 750 and you wear it on your wrist, you'll feel it. Sometimes it'll feel like you'll feel that weight going the opposite direction.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But
So-
solid movement.
What do you think about overall construction and design? I think
It actually looks really pretty nicely made.
it looks pretty nicely made too. I
Yeah.
think the sub dials are a little. Is it close together? Does it feel like a little small face, big movementy?
Yeah, it does. It does kind of have that effect. I'm not like a fan of the dial design on this one that much.
Uh-huh.
I think all the different textures with that bezel and then the different textures on the dial and kind of like the laser marking and stamping and all the little things going on is a little too much.
Uh-huh.
But that's just my taste. If you're looking for something that has a lot going on, this is
yeah.
a good dial.
I think it's kind of nice. I'm not a big fan of the roughed up like diamond platey bezel. That's not really my style, but it did feel pretty solid. And actually, you know what I like are the buckles. I like this black. I like the black buckle there. I think that's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Check this one out. This one is the auto ceramic diver, and I think this feels for $490 like a really high quality item.
And they only sell these on Kickstarter.
They only sell this
So
on
these
Kickstarter.
are never meant to like go to retailers.
I don't
or
think
be
so.
anywhere
Oh no,
else.
it seems like you could still buy them after Kickstarter.
Okay, like on their own website.
Yeah, it seems like this is an early bird, get in on it or
Okay.
something. Yeah. So the retail price might be more than this. I don't know if it says it on here, but I mean for $490 on the Kickstarter, does that spin?
Doesn't spin, but you did say it was. Or you know what? It won't spin because you have a.
It's got a.
Or no, it
No.
will spin because that's.
Is it not spinning because it's a prototype?
Might be because it's a prototype.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not spinning on that. It doesn't say. It doesn't say exactly whether or not it does. I hope it does. I'm not sure. I don't know. What do you
Yeah,
think?
if it doesn't spin, that'd be a huge letdown.
It would, because it's a diver's watch,
Yeah.
and that's kind of a necessary part of being a dive watch. Now,
Yeah.
it could be just a dive style watch. Does it say water resistant on there or anything?
It says 300 meters, and it has loom on the second hand, which is required.
Okay.
It's got a screw down crown. I mean, it's got all the stuff.
All right, I will.
to be a dive
I'll
watch.
follow up with them on whether or not the
Yeah.
bezel spins. But the bezel actually feels in your when you touch it.
Yeah.
It feels very nice.
Yeah.
And I think the overall case design feels really nice. This is a
Yeah.
good rubber strap, although it's not what I would wear if I wasn't diving. I'd find a cool, interesting strap to put on it. But like for under $500, that's a really solid feeling piece of hardware.
Yeah.
I agree. I think so.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
then-
a good deal.
And then the last one is going to be a pilot's style. Hang on. It's on the thing. This one is. Sorry, folks. It didn't click away. This one is the P51 automatic chronograph in titanium with a ceramic bezel.
Now, see, this bezel turns.
Oh,
So-
all right. Well, I'm gonna have to
We'll
go
have to
ahead and
check with them,
assume
yeah.
that the other one will turn. They did say that these were prototype watches, and we have to get them back because they're the only one right now. These are the only ones that exist of these. So, what I haven't even really touched that one yet. What do you think about that one, Cam?
I think it's a solid watch as well, kind of like the other chronograph, except I actually like the dial on this one better.
I do too. This one it reminds me of a Seiko day date movement, and I don't mean that in an insulting way. I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the Hamiltons, the
Ha-
Hamilton chronographs
Yeah.
that they make nowadays.
Yeah. I
But
think
I
it
like
also
these
reminds me
pushers.
of the Baum Mercier chronographs we saw at Feldmar recently with Red Bar.
Yes, a little bit.
A
yeah.
little bit, right?
Yeah.
So this thing is $1,200 pre-order. So for a titanium case, ceramic bezel, Swiss movement chronograph, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Is this also 7750?
Yep.
It is,
Another
right?
750 movement.
Yeah.
Now the case back, I'm guessing that's just like DLC coated stainless.
Yeah, the case back is a display back, but it's blacked out.
Yeah.
Which it's blacked out on all of them, isn't it? On all three.
Um,
Oh, not that one.
no.
It's inverse on one
Right?
of them has a black case with a silver case back.
Yeah.
And then this one, the ones that have silver cases have black case backs.
Right.
It's actually kind of a fun.
Yeah,
It's a
different.
fun thing, and they clearly are trying to do an IWC thing with the strap. I will
Yes.
say,
Very pilot style. I mean,
Yeah.
Hamilton does straps like that as well, so it's not just
The-
IWC.
all right, I'm going to make a criticism for $1,200 on the ceramic chrono or the titanium chrono. Oh, Jesus, our camera's a mess right now. This one, the most expensive one, to me, the strap feels cheap. It's a genuine leather strap, and genuine is the cheapest one. Like for $1,200, I would go buy a $150 really nice strap for that. Take off the buckle and put the buckle on it. You know what I mean? Because that's actually kind of an expensive feeling item, but the strap is cheap feeling.
Yeah, actually, I like this one that it's stamped shark.
Is it actually
Yeah,
stamped
it
shark?
says genuine shark,
Oh.
handmade. And I actually like this strap a lot on this chronograph.
Let me see
I would
that
take
strap.
this strap and put it on the other one.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
It's like that shark skin.
You know what's actually funny is the outside of it feels nice and soft, but the part that sits against your wrist does not feel as nice.
Yeah.
Maybe if you sat there and worked it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, I think a lot of these mid-level, like $1,000 watches, a lot of places where they save money is by not having a $1,000 bracelet on it.
Yeah.
So-
yeah, because a good like full grain, genuine leather strap, especially if you're doing
Put all three
something
of them in.
exotic like alligator.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Expensive.
be expensive.
It's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So, overall, though, I think this is like a super interesting concept of doing the Kickstarter thing. I mean, holy shit, they've got almost. Wait a second. Has this gone up since we've been sitting here? Was that 425 when we started?
I think so.
Bro, I think this. I swear to God, I think when we sat down to do this show, it was 425. And I think they made $3,000 while we did this show.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, they did 3 Kickstarters before and nearly $3 million. So you
Yeah.
can probably expect that they'll do about another $1 million on this one.
I think this is very interesting. And these watches are not. They're nice. They're pretty
Yeah.
nice. I mean, where do you stand? I mean, if you are not you, if you were a customer, do you see a value in spending $500 to $1,000 on a brand that has a nice item, but that like has zero brand recognition at all?
It depends. I mean, I like watches for everything that goes into the creation and the story and the history. So I tend to kind of gravitate towards some sort of story behind the brand. I haven't read any story about them, so I don't know if there's any kind of like this watchmaker that came out with this idea or anything, or if it's just business. We call somebody up and make a watch, and then we sell a watch. So for me, I kind of gravitate towards stories a little more.
They have a website, livewatches.com, and they have stories, they have sponsored athletes. They're definitely trying to do it, trying to get into the culture of it. And I mean, look, more people making watches that are not shit is a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I love to see
Yeah.
is somebody like this who's actually using solid movements. They're not.
It's
A lot
not
of the
like a
stuff you'll see on
minimalist,
Kickstarter.
fashion-y brand.
Yeah, a lot of stuff you're going to see on Kickstarter is just completely Chinese made, quartz movement. It's made to look like a Rolex, and they
Yeah.
act like, oh, we're trying to get our foot in the door and start in this industry. And
Yeah, like someone
selling
the other
overpriced
day,
piece of
someone the other
garbage.
day said, why don't you guys do an episode that's all about like the worst of the worst? And I'm just like, if someone is doing something original with quality, or you know what I mean, we're not going to sit here and shit on them because we don't like how they look. It's like
Yeah.
the worst of the worst is like fakes.
yeah,
That you know what I
Definitely.
mean? Fakes, or like the homage designs that are like a hash mark away from trademark infringement.
yeah.
That dun 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 dun. Tss. No, the Vanilla
these,
Ice one goes. Tss,
Yeah.
So, but
These I'm happy to see because they're using what looks like quality construction and quality parts, and they're not just like taking all the shortcuts and trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
actually want to create something good for the people that they're selling it to.
Yeah, and I think under 500 for this dive watch, assuming the final one will have a spinning bezel, which
Yeah.
it needs to, and 1,200 for this chronograph. And wait, how much was because this is titanium, how much was the knot? So you can get this same titanium one you can get in steel and save $200.
Yeah,
I
which is
think
a great deal for a Swiss chronograph.
I do too, although I do like the titanium. The weight of this is nice. It's
and I
it's
think
not.
the darker gray of titanium with that black bezel is really nice.
I really like the big pushers. The big
Yeah.
pushers on the chronograph are very satisfying.
Right?
That's nice. That's a good watch. Good job. LiveWatches.com. LIV watches.com. If you go to their website, the Kickstarter is up. And that is Cameron and I's word on Liv Watches. Thank you, Liv, for sending these. And look, this one says number 0 of 500. So these are the prototypes, and we need to send them back so they can slang them from slanging to slanging.
Yep.
Cameron, what do you want to add? You're going to Switzerland.
Yes, I will be in Switzerland, and if you want to see what I'm doing in Switzerland, definitely
Follow
me
on
on
Instagram.
Cameron M. Weiss.
Oh no, wait! I closed the window. Where'd it go? Bring it back. Bring it back, folks.
I'm going to be at a watchmaking trade show and checking out some other watchmaking things in Switzerland.
Follow
kinda behind
Cameron
the scenes.
Weiss Watch Company as well as Cameron M. Weiss. There it is. Thanks, folks. And yeah, you're going to be nerding out on the
Yes.
things on which to nerd out. I am the Smoking Tire on Instagram. My poor Instagram feed has been devoid of watches recently. It's been all cars because I've been at the racetrack. Wow, that's actually not refreshed in a while. I will be, let me think, I'm doing appearances soon. I will be at Sacramento Auto Museum in July. Check that out if you are up north in Northern California. And if you have a micro brand, if you're out there and you want us to talk about your small brand of watches with no, or in theory, hopefully an unbiased opinions of how these watches are, hit me up and send us some watches. Cool?
Yeah.
All right. That's Watch and Listen, folks. Y'all have a good